In other news, major challenges to South Africa's divorce laws are on the cards, with a strong focus on protecting women's rights. Justice Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi is set to table the General Laws Amendment Bill in Parliament. If passed, it will bring long overdue updates to the Divorce Act of 1979, with reforms aimed at creating a more just and equitable system, particularly for women. Let's unpack the story with Bertus Preller. He is a family law attorney at Maurice Phillips Weisenberg. Bertus, thanks for your time this afternoon. The issue that stands out for me in this story is around non-accrual marriages, right? Particularly, I suppose, in a situation where, say, one spouse is a stay-at-home parent, and so there is a lot of unpaid work that is taking place, but the salaried spouse seems to benefit from that kind of arrangement.
Correct. It stems from a reform by a 2023 Constitutional Court ruling that aimed to protect spouses, particularly, those married out of community of property without the accrual, who were often left with nothing after divorce or death, despite, years of non-financial contributions to the marriage. So women in those circumstances would only have a maintenance claim in a long-lived marriage, for example, which was completely unfair. When the Matrimonial Property Act was introduced, there was a cut-off point being 1 November 1984. So all marriages pre that date had the opportunity, or the one spouse had the opportunity to file what we call a redistribution claim. That was found to be unconstitutional. So all marriages now that has been put into place after 1 November 1984, that spouse will now have a redistribution claim for assets in the divorce.
And I imagine this impacts a spouse in the event of the partner's death as well.
Correct, yes. Previously, there were no claim. If there weren't any, a will, for example, and the whole estate was bequeathed to someone else, now that wife, like in terms of an accrual case, would have a claim for a redistribution of assets. We've seen that already in the Constitutional Court in what we call the Bayana matter, where someone that wasn't married to her partner were able to claim against the estate as a result of the death of the former partner. Mm-hmm.
So I suppose the question then, Bertus, is why go into a non-accrual marriage at all then?
Yeah, it's actually, there's still unfairness in the law, according to me, because you can actually contract out in an accrual situation. You can put assets out of the reach of the other spouse by naming that assets as excluded assets, for example. So we see a lot in divorce matters that parties are married with the accrual, but the husband, for example, amassed the estate in a trust. And then the wife has got, in any event, no claim to that. So the redistribution implementation is a fair one. It actually goes back pre-1984, where the court had the discretion to allow a transfer of assets. The only problem that I foresee is that this decision to transfer these assets can only be made in a divorce trial. So you're going to see a lot more contested divorces, in my view, going forward, because it's for the court to ultimately call a redistribution. And as you know, legal costs are quite high.
Yeah. So the Constitutional Court, I just want to go back to that issue you raised now. It ruled last year that it's unfair and unconstitutional for spouses, particularly homemakers and often homemakers, to walk away with nothing. Previously, remedies such as maintenance and others provided only just short-term relief. So we understand that impact, that it means more fairness on the part of whoever the spouse is that becomes the homemaker, whether it's, whoever the spouse is. But for the working spouse, could there be drawbacks here? For example, if one spouse sort of decides not to contribute, not for any particular reason, maybe they just don't want to work. Could this impact the financial situation of the working and ambitious spouse?
Yeah, it can, but one can't discriminate on, for example, contributions. Contributions could be a homemaker looking after the children, it's to protect those women in marriages where they've been married for a very long time, raised the children, looking after the home, and allowing the husband to build the estate. Well, in that scenario, definitely the spouse will have a redistribution claim. But you have to look at each case on its own facts. So if someone deliberately does not contribute to an estate, for example, the court has a discretion to transfer a percentage of the assets. So it could be anything from 10% to half of the estate.
Right. And obviously there are situations where a husband might stay at home as well. But the amendments to the laws, would you say that majority they will impact women in the country, particularly those who are homemakers?
Yeah, look, obviously now, the same would apply for Muslim marriages. Right. The same would apply for same-sex marriages, where these distribution claims are now available. So it's not only women per se,
right.
But we see a lot of cases these days where the woman is the breadwinner. So obviously the husband, if he has made significant contributions to the estate, whether by being a homemaker, for example, he will also have a claim.
Right. And I imagine people watching this interview, Bertus, who have gone through divorce proceedings where they have been disenfranchised by the fact that they were in non-accrual marriages, will be asking the question, is it retrospective?
No, it's not. Unfortunately not. And that's the sad part. So it's not retrospective. It's only for matters, marriages now, and all divorce cases pending at the moment. So we've seen a lot of out of community of property without the accrual cases where the pleadings have been amended now to include this redistribution claim.
Right. Yeah. That is a shame. But I imagine if it were to be retrospective, that the court roll would be completely full with people trying to. Yeah. Completely
flooded, because in those cases, women only had a maintenance claim for years of marriage.
What a shame. Bertus, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. Bertus Preller is a family law attorney at Maurice Phillips Weisenberg, and we focusing on major changes to South Africa's divorce laws on the cards with a strong focus on protecting women's rights.